Comments from our panel first, anything to Jean Maria's comment?
I just would say that, first of all, this whole program was devised by two psychologists, Air Force psychologists, who devised it in detail.
The SEER program.
Well, they were psychologists in the SEER program, which is a program intended to train, as I mentioned, down flyers and others to resist interrogation. So these two psychologists essentially reverse engineered. They had no experience of any kind in interrogation, had never conducted one. And it's indicative of how improvisational this whole matter was, that they didn't look at the very extensive history in the US government when it came to interrogation, including during World War II when the United States put together an extremely effective interrogation program that did not involve torture at all. And this, after all, was a time during considerable national danger. But they put together a program that was extremely effective. You can read about it on the web. You just have to put in educing information, educing, E-D-U-C-I-N-G. And there are a couple of very extensive collections of papers under that title that'll tell you about this history. But none of this was taken into account. In fact, I don't think you can understand torture and the program that was put together without understanding the politics within the government, which is that we have to do something very quick. We have to find somebody who will cooperate. People are people who will cooperate. And we have to avoid the established lines of authority and experience within the government itself, which is how a lot of the government operated in the days and months after 9/11. And the later memos and things like that were essentially ass-covering operations so the program wouldn't be reduced. And also the last comment relating to Jamil's comment earlier about secrecy, why is all this stuff secret? He was talking about legal documents, but a lot of the documents I think were secret because they were trying to cover up the fact that the interrogation program was a disaster. It didn't work very well. And in part it was because it worked on the theory of round up the usual suspects, particularly in Iraq. There were very large-scale arrests. And Guantanamo was a similar situation where you had very many people scooped up, and the interrogators, young as they were and experienced as they were overwhelmed with the sheer volume of people who knew absolutely nothing. Abu Ghraib, the government found, among other things, quoted by an intelligence officer in Abu Ghraib, that 9 out of 10 of the people here should not be here. They don't know anything. But they couldn't be released once they were arrested because the maneuver units protested. We, at great risk to ourselves, arrested these people. So there's a lot more to learn about inefficiency and the failures of this program in general, but it came to us from the psychologists originally.
I want to add to that just like in World War II, the Japanese dropped the bomb, people came out of the walls to join the military. When this after 9/11, retired intelligence professionals, these people retire at 40 or 45%. Interrogators, they tried to rejoin, people who knew Arabic, Farsi, all these languages. Those people had a hard time getting in. It was, I have lots of stories of that sort. So it was really a kind of principled ignorance.
Other comments from the panel?
Well, I'd just like to ask a fact. I'm unclear on the facts. These interrogators are themselves not psychologists. Is that right?
That's true.
But then are there psychologists who are there at the sites of these interrogations? And are those psychologists private contractors, so to speak, or are they employees of? Are they in the military? Or are they employees of the government?
The answer is that there are both. There's a very, almost moving statement by the Army Surgeon General, Kiley, who said, because we have such an avalanche, as it were, of people to deal with, we've had to augment the psychologists we usually deal with, the people who are really intelligent. These are people who be back scenes. We've had to bring in people, our psychologists, from other areas. So when these psychologists started being brought into interrogations, they wanted to keep their their state licenses and all. Now they're really worried about what the APA ethics code is. So that's when it got into that. But the behavioral science consultation teams are just as I told you. They were all about how to disable the detainee. They were not shipped off to Fort Huachuca to train all these interrogators. Okay? That's what they were doing. They were disabling the detainees. So the interrogators, the senior interrogators, did not like these people. Also, the psychologists come in, right, from school, right, as in the lieutenant rank or captain rank, and they outrank them. And mess up their interrogations is the way that they would. So there's no love lost between the biscuit psychologists and the senior interrogators.
I wonder if there's a law student here that would like to ask a question or make a comment. I'm hoping there's at least one. Thank you. Come to the microphone, please. Right there. Right where the camera is. Yeah.
Sorry, I almost jumped up several times before, but we have to move on.
Thank you.
I guess a comment first is that there are actually a large number of students at this law school who really care about this issue. And I know we don't necessarily have the greatest attendance at events like this sometimes. I know we actually had Jimmy Jaffer here last year, and he gave a really great presentation. He also had a number of panels that were really wonderful.
I should say the video and transcript of this entire proceedings will be available to your law students.
Great. We actually have Jamil up on our website. I'm a member of Vote Alliance to Abolish Torture. We have these t-shirts. So I started a website. It hasn't been updated as much as it should be, but if you search Vote Alliance to Abolish Torture, we have Jamil's event and several of our other panel events we filmed and are up there as well. But I guess one thing that sort of addresses some of the things you've been mentioning is there's a group of us that we're very concerned about, well, we're all concerned about what students at this law school are learning by having our professor, John Yu, here sort of unaddressed. And so we have organized a class that's going to be offered next semester, which I'm signed up for already, called The Ethics of Government Lawyering. This is going to be taught by an adjunct professor, John Steele, who was also one of the panelists we had previously in one of our discussions. And it would be great if we had other faculty members who would show more support for our events and things like that. I think that's one of the problems we've had is that students sort of look to the faculty and their response. And the faculty tend to sort of want to be hands-off. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, we submitted. We had a petition campaign last year. A little less than a year ago, we submitted to the Pennsylvania Bar Association, the Department of Justice, and the Chancellor, basically a stack of petitions of hundreds of law students and staff asking for investigations. So,
thank you.
And Bob, should I put in a plug for your class that you're going to be teaching next?
No.
He's teaching an ethics class.